Okay, recording has started. Let's get going. Again, thank you all so much for joining on a Sunday. Really appreciate you taking the time out. So following on from the session this morning, we're going to be doing a little bit more on brief taking, and we're going to then document that research that you prepare and talk a little bit about presenting the information. Please take a quick moment to have a quick look around yourselves. Are there any bags that might be in the way of a clear exit? Maybe there's some cables. In my case, I've got a dog lying in the corridor. So just things just to be aware of in case of an emergency. As always, prefer no swearing and speak respectfully to each other. This session is being recorded, and it will be recorded for about 30 to 35 minutes. You will need a notebook and pen for this one. If you can, take a quick minute to find a piece of paper and a pen to write on while I go through the housekeeping. A quick roll call. I see that we've got Reet, Preeti, and Alex today. Thank you for coming back. I do like giving you all a number which will help in the discussions later on. So Reet, I'll put you as number 1, Preeti number 2, and Alex number 3. It does put Reet on the spot a little bit for coming up with fast answers to questions. So just be ready. Are there any specific needs or questions or anything? Unmute yourselves and let me know. If not, we'll move on. All right, okay. We looked this morning at planning research. We also looked a little bit at internet research methods and the use of an internet browser and the difference with a search engine, and then the pros and cons of internet research, which was misleading information and difficulty finding that information, and then how to apply critical thinking to weed out the information and find correct direction. Now, I've got a little quick task here to test our memory on Teams. So this is the software that we're using at the moment. And we did go through an explanation in the previous session. So I'm going to read out the number 1 at the top there. I'll answer. So at the top left, we have number 1. So this is the timer for the session. In this particular session, it's 23 minutes. And on the left is a little red dot, which means that team was recording. Reet, would you mind unmuting yourself and telling us a little bit about what is number 2 there?
It is chat.
Fantastic. Thanks. And what about yourself, Preeti? Number 3, that one's for you.
That is video, so that you can see that we're actually paying attention today.
Thank you very much. And Alex, choose between number 4 or 5. I prefer that you didn't choose 5.
Oh, I just put my mouth straight up to leave. No, I would not. This is too good. Number 4 is everybody please keep themselves muted. It's important that they don't have noise in the background, for example, barking dogs, or if they're coughing, or if the washing machine's going off. So keep yourself on mute, but then jump back on and off as you ask us to, or when you ask us to participate in a conversation.
Fantastic. Very clear. So
muting myself now.
Thanks. From that, I get a feeling that you're all quite familiar with Teams and quite comfortable with it. So let's have a quick look at the next one. Last week, we talked a lot about internet browsers. Oh, sorry, this morning. The most common one was Google Chrome. And some of you were using Safari on other devices, like an iPad or your iPhone. Some had heard of Firefox as your browser. In the search engine, Google was by far the most prominent, with Bing coming in probably second. And there was a little bit of research and discussion on different types of alternative search engines like the DuckDuckGo and similar. So hopefully you've had a moment to look at that, or at least planning to. Let's get into our first activity introduction. So this morning we talked a little bit about Outlook and emails and how Microsoft helps us with our planning for internet research. I mentioned that my favorite is PowerPoint, in that you can put your questions directly into PowerPoint as your framework to your planning. Then as you follow those questions and perform your research, you can copy your answers and your links directly into PowerPoint and put those all together with your answers. And what we'll be doing later on today is looking at how PowerPoint can help us present that planning, research, and answers all in one document. The PowerPoint can then be attached to an email and sent off for review or sent to your new colleagues, etc. So to help us with how to use PowerPoint, I have a slightly longer than usual video. Please unmute yourselves and let me know if you can't hear it. I'm going to start playing this one now.
No sound.
Thanks, Alex. Is that okay?
Shannon, try sharing your page, your window, share with sound.
Okay, thanks.
Click on the card in the top right-hand corner. On this page, click on
All
the
right.
text that says Get
Good.
Microsoft
Fantastic.
365, and you'll see the in PowerPoint. Today, we are going to learn how to use Microsoft PowerPoint in under 20 minutes. With PowerPoint, you can create, edit, and share professional-looking presentations so you can land your message. Let's start with how you can even get PowerPoint. To get PowerPoint, you can head to the following address, powerpoint.new. This will let you use PowerPoint for free in your web browser. This will drop you into a blank new presentation. If you would like to use the PowerPoint app, head to the following website. You could also click on the card in the top right-hand corner. On this page, click on the text that says Get Microsoft 365, and you'll see the various options available. When you launch PowerPoint, you'll land on the home screen, and this helps you get started. In the top left-hand corner, you can kick off a blank new presentation. To the right of that, you also have a number of different themes that you can start from. It's well worth looking through here to see if one of these might match your needs. Right down here, you can view more themes, or over on the left-hand side, you can also click on New. They both go to the same place. And this will show you an exhaustive view of all the different available templates and also themes. Let's click back into Home. Right here, we have a search field, so you can look for an existing presentation that you've worked on. And down below, you'll see all of your recent presentations, making it really quick to get back to work on your presentation. In the top left-hand corner, let's click into a blank new presentation. This now drops us into a brand new presentation, and I have lots of work to do to get this ready. But before we start working on this presentation, in the top left-hand corner, let's click on this floppy disk icon to save the presentation. You can also press the shortcut key Control-S. This opens up a save dialog, and I'll call my file the Kevin Cookie Company All Hands. Down below, you can choose a location for your file, and by default, it places it in OneDrive. I would recommend uploading it to Microsoft's cloud, or basically Microsoft servers. There are a few benefits to doing that. For one, it'll automatically save your presentation as you're working on it. You'll also be able to jump back to previous versions of your presentation, and it also makes it really easy to share it with others. Right down below, I'll click on Save. I'm now all ready to start working on my presentation, and here I can see my very first slide. Over on the left-hand side, I can see that I have one slide in my presentation. Right over here, I'll click to add my title, and I want to build out an all hands deck for the Kevin Cookie Company. I'll title it All Hands, and for the subtitle, I'll type in Kevin Cookie Company. Of course, I need more slides. To add another slide, over on the left-hand side of the ribbon under the Home tab, there's the option to add a new slide. I'll click on this, and this inserts the second slide into my presentation. If I hover over this, you'll see that the shortcut key to add a new slide is Control M. I'll press Control M, and that adds yet another slide. I can also click down here, and you'll see this line appear. I can press Enter on my keyboard, and that will also add a slide. You might have noticed that the slide layout is a little bit different on this slide compared to my very first slide. As I insert a slide, you can always click on this drop down, and here you can select your layout up front, but you can also change it retroactively. Up here, I'll click on this icon, and this allows me to change the layout. I'll select this one with a section header, and that now changes the layout. I now want to start building out an outline for my deck. To navigate up my slides, I can click on the up arrow, and that'll move me up, or I could also move down throughout my slides. Right up here, I want to add a slide where we talk about the customer feedback that we've been hearing here. It's not entirely positive, but it's worth mentioning. On the next slide, I want to discuss opening the new factory. I'll add a slide for that. And right here, this will be the last slide, and we'll say thank you. Now, on second thought, we should probably also discuss the revenue numbers that we've seen here the last year. To add a new slide in between, I can place my cursor right here and click, and then hit the Enter key, and that adds another new slide. And for this, let's title this Revenue. Looking at my outline here, we start with customer feedback, and unfortunately, that's not entirely positive, so perhaps it makes sense to move this to the end of the presentation. To move a slide, I can simply press and hold on it, and I can move it to a new position. I can also press the Control key to select multiple slides, and I can move multiple slides at once. You can also press the Shift key to select multiple slides. Down in the bottom right-hand corner, you can also click into the slide sorter. And here too, you can also move slides around to match exactly how you want your presentation to appear. Down below, let's click back into the normal view. Back in the main view, I've been thinking a little bit more about this customer feedback, and it is unfortunately negative, and I don't know if I want management to see that. What they don't know can't hurt them. I can right-click on this item, and here's the option to delete the slide. I could also simply press the Delete key on my keyboard, and that removes the slide altogether. Now that I've finished my outline, I am ready to apply a theme. Otherwise, things will just look a little bit too bland. Up on the top tabs, let's click into the option titled Design.
Mute myself. Slightly longer than usual. Thank you for waiting through that one. PowerPoint is a vast application, and there is a lot to do in that. I'm going to send a link to the original video, which is even longer. I think it was 20 minutes. And you can have a look through. So when you're creating your document, which I'm going to ask you to do, you can reference back to this video, and he will help you through creating your first PowerPoint. When you are doing that, I would also send a link to how to match the Quality Ed policy and procedures for your document, and have a read through both things and create from that. So here is coming back. Now, I showed this one to you this morning as well. So this was a basic example on the left of a simple Word document that has the questions and answers in our research. What this basic template has, and the full formal template will have, is you need to include a date, your project, so which documentation or which department this is for, include your name, the researcher, the supervisor, and also the objective as well. On the right-hand side, this is a formal outline of what to include in a presentation. You'll always start with your introduction, discuss what the issue might be, some of the literature, in this case, yours would be internet research, your recommendations, and finally conclusions. So before I move on, I may actually ask each of you to take a quick photo of this page for using your phones, and this will help you with your presentation later on. I see that you've all done that. Thank you. And what you're going to be doing is creating a PowerPoint for new staff members in your company. The topic of the PowerPoint will be conduct effective internet searches. So this is another one to take a photo of, and it'll be a reminder for you for the main topic and the main title. Right. Thank you. I will be sending a copy of this to you as well with the other links, but this is just, the photo will be a little bit faster for you to access. In your PowerPoint, please include these things, and while I'm speaking, you can also take a photo of it as well. Please include an introduction. So this PowerPoint will be presented to others. You need to present to them what is the purpose of it. Explain to them the problem. Inform them of your internet's research results, your possible solutions to the above problem, and then finally a conclusion. This is a PowerPoint. Again, you could photo this one for your own references. This is a PowerPoint done in another session, not the same unit of competency that you're in now, but it's a very, very good example of something simple, direct, and to the point. This here is a standard theme in PowerPoint. So when you're creating, you can select the standard themes. It'll save you a lot of time. In the top left, you have your main introduction. Second image on the top right, they introduce the problem. Bottom left, they discussed possible solutions for that. And finally, a conclusion. There's a few other little things, titles, headers, dates, things like this. These are things that you can include yourselves. We're going to be taking a brief now. I'm going to start with something we all love, which is coffee and caffeine. If you have your notebook or a piece of paper, and Alex has got hers, and pen ready, please listen to the brief that I give you now and write down or jot down some of the important information that you hear. Right. If everybody's ready, your manager has asked you to come into their office, and they have requested that you get the coffees for the team today. It's your turn. Your manager's asked you to go downstairs to the coffee shop in the building below, not the one at the end of the street, which has better coffee. Please get coffees for each of the team members. And the manager noticed that Susan was late to work. Maybe she skipped breakfast. Please ask her about this as well. Okay, that's the end of the brief. That's a simple and quick example to explain the main points in the brief. And something that I didn't give was a time frame. I did discuss, don't go to the end of the street, which is better coffee. Maybe there's a reason for that. I also didn't discuss a deadline. So obviously with coffee, come back before it's cold. I also didn't talk about any nice to haves, and a nice to have in the brief setting would be something extra. In this case, come back with some sugar or a swizzle stick or some of the hand protectors for the hot coffee cup. I did cover the main goal, which was coffee for the whole team. I also covered other points. So Susan might have been late. She might need a muffin. And the must-haves was coffee for each staff member. Taking a brief is all about being a good listener. In this case, my father had a great saying that I strongly believe in, is you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And in brief taking, try to use them in that quantity. So it's quite clever. So your manager's talking 2 ears, 1 mouth. Another thing, as you may have found out, and hopefully you've done, is to be a good note taker. So listen clearly, write down notes when the manager or someone's giving you the task. Because what happens at the end of the brief is you will see holes in the information and then you can ask accurate questions. We need to clarify what that task was. Now, when I was preparing this PowerPoint, I got the 2 briefs mixed up a lot. So I'm going to give you another brief now. Please try to forget the coffee brief. I get it mixed up all the time. So just a little bit of advice. Forget the coffee brief. We're going to give you the full brief now. Notepad and pen ready, please. This brief is for your assessment, which is in the next session. So your assessment is to create the PowerPoint, perform the research, and then present that back too. This here is the Quality Ed briefing template. At the top, you can see the session title, take a brief, clarify requirements, asking questions. The learning outcome is, by the end of this session, the learners will be able to take a verbal brief from a supervisor by listening and asking questions to clarify the task for improved task execution. What I'm going to do is I'll read the brief below. It's quite short. You can see here at the bottom of the page is a Q&A. I've listed the first question, which is time limit, but there's no answer. So I have a handy little document which has a page full of questions and answers that I would hope that you would all be able to pin and find, and I will ask that each of you, starting with Reet, get ready to ask your questions. Now, are you all ready for the first full brief? Fantastic. Your workplace needs to perform internet research induction training for new staff members. We need you to prepare a clear step-by-step guide using PowerPoint on how to perform internet research within ABC Limited. So that's the brief. It doesn't have quite a few things. So looking through your notes and thinking of your questions, please unmute yourselves, 1, 2, and then 3, and ask your questions. Reet, you're first, you're student number 1.
When we need to do it?
So the deadline is by the end of next week. Do you want to do 2 questions each? Does that work?
And how many slides we need to make?
Great question. So page limit, it says 3 to 6 pages.
I can.
Preeti?
Do the new staff members have any previous experience?
Using the internet research?
Yeah. Any internet knowledge, basically, how to use the internet, for instance.
The question's not listed here. It's a fantastic question. I would assume that they have some internet usage experience, but formal research matching ABC Limited's policies and procedures, probably not.
Okay.
And another question for you?
Where can we get access to the policy and procedures of Quality Ed?
Great question. So ABC Limited has IT policies and procedures for you to follow. You can find the manual on the internal intranet. Alex, you're up.
I have a few questions for you. How many staff will be in the session?
So this will be delivered to all new staff members.
Yeah.
It says here some of them are admin staff and some of them are shop floor staff,
Okay.
but none, not an actual session.
All right. Okay. What is the time limit? I know you've given us the number of slides, but what's the actual time that you'd like us to present for?
Great question. So time limit, not more than 5 minutes for the presentation.
Okay. Thank you. And whereabouts will I be presenting?
So presenting will be done in the small meeting room. There is a screen on the wall, a TV screen on the wall.
Okay. And can I use AI to create the PowerPoint for me?
If you have the skill and it saves you time, then definitely. We are in this particular case, we're in a workplace scenario and not a school scenario. So it's, I would say, AI for following the workplace policies and procedures. If it matches that, then yes. In the workplace, please don't use AI for your homework. At work, go ahead, save time. So,
Thank you, Shannon.
is there any questions? So the only one that was 2 questions missed was paid slide size. We will be adding this to the induction manual, which is landscape A4. And the theme and design of the presentation should use ABC Limited standards for design. Now, so we've got all those questions. The main goal was to explain to your co-workers how to conduct effective internet searches. The time frame was 5 minutes for the presentation. Preparing the document by the end of the week. A must-have, introduce some sort of planning or methods of planning, follow the policies and procedures, offers ways to improve planning, and a conclusion or summary. There are constraints to internet research. This is something that could be included also, is how to work around misleading information, researching time, and talk about the breadth and amount of information available on the internet. You could also have a nice to have, which is an example. We're going to now look at, so we've done all the documentation, all the paperwork, all of our research. How do we then present that to people? My strange example is you don't give a steak to a vegetarian. So in life, I think this is a great example. I've spent quite a bit of time in sales. So one thing in sales is if a customer asks for a specific item, you make sure that you give that customer exactly what they ask for. In this sense, we are going to be presenting research information document. The customer, in this case, would be looking for information on research internet. So please don't give a steak to a vegetarian. Try to understand what it is that the customer wants. Each person that is listening to you, or a customer, in this case, that's just a scenario, we all have gender preferences. We all have age information. So a young person thinks differently and approaches life differently to an older one. Cultural backgrounds. This could be internationally, culturally, or even within one country has different minor cultures. Life experiences, and another one would be job experience, work experience too, and general knowledge. What I'm going to do is I'm going to explain myself. So you will be presenting your documents to me. And in this case, I would like you to listen to my own generalized explanation and then revise your document to suit me specifically. So I am male, 41 years old, international life experience, interior designer by trade, separated with no kids, and senior manager at work. You could take a picture of this one too. What does this information mean to preparing a document about internet research? So I'm male, so that means that I think like a man. So maybe I would want my information to be slightly more textual, factual based. My age means that I am millennial generation, so I'm not quite as young and tech savvy, and I'm also not a baby boomer. I am middle-aged, I have plenty of life experiences, but I also have lots of stresses in life. This refers back to maybe more factual base. I want this presentation to be done quickly and I can move on and do something else. I have international life experience. That means I will think differently to your typical Australian. Interior designer by trade, that means I have a creative mind and creative thought process. The presentation could be more beautiful. Was married, so I have relationship experience. Relationship means I can speak to people, I'm comfortable around others, and I'm used to being the boss. I'm going to read the brief back to you once more. Change your cap to think about me as your listener and try to take in different information based on me being the one you're presenting to. Oh. Ready? Your workplace needs to perform internet research induction training for new staff members. We need you to prepare a clear step-by-step guide in PowerPoint on how to perform internet research within ABC Limited. There's a 5-minute for the presentation, complete presentation by the end of the week. It's for new staff members, admin staff, and some shop floor staff. Maybe I'm a guy working on the shop floor, something to think about. Yes, ABC Limited has an IT policies and procedures in the intranet, generalized research for all tasks, and 3 to 6 pages. I would like, in your own time, please go through and edit your document for me specifically. So that's your main task. Thank you very much for all of your focus and time. Are there any questions about what I've delivered today? Any feedback on Alex? Please go ahead.
When would you like us to submit this to you?
We have our next session is Tuesday next week. If you could submit it the day before, it gives me time to have a look through it, and it gives you about a week. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any others? The next session is our assessment. So you will be presenting today's PowerPoint. I prepared, I went through it and presented to myself twice. It just helps me to understand each page and the sequence. And if anything's missed, I would suggest that you have it's only 5 minutes, just go through it yourselves, present to yourself a few times, maybe talking to a mirror, to your dog, a loved one, record yourself. Anything that helps, just have a little practice session. It'll make you feel more confident and comfortable. Thank you very much for all of your time. Really appreciate it and enjoyed presenting to you. Bye-bye.